Good morning, Phoenix class, and welcome to our maths lesson for today. I can convert decimals into fractions. So what have we learnt so far this week? We've learnt that every column is worth 10 times more or less than the one next to it. So if we are multiplying by 10, we move our digits one column to the left. If we're multiplying by 100, we move 2 columns to the left. Multiplying by 1,000, we move 3 columns to the left. And then it goes the same with dividing, but we're going in the other direction because our number is getting smaller. So if we're dividing by 10, we go 1 column to the right. Dividing by 100, we go 2 columns to the right. Dividing by 1,000, and that's 3 columns to the right. So we're going to have a quick recap here. So you have to decide whether each of these calculations and their explanations are true or false. So 0.45 divided by 10 equals 0.45 because I have removed a 0 to divide by 10. First of all, is the calculation correct? Then is that the correct explanation? I will let you go through those as that is a recap. And then on the next, you have your answers. Right, today's lesson. Let's have a look at our first problem. Isla and Ebo are matching fraction cards to decimal diagrams. Which fractions are equivalent to each decimal? Match each fraction card to a decimal diagram. Well, first of all, you've got to think about the value of each of those digits. We can draw our place value chart here and we can write our digits in. So here we've got 0.006. So what is the value of the 6 in that number? Well, as you can see from the place value chart, the 6 is worth 6 thousandths because it's in the thousands column on the chart. Therefore, we can write it as 6 thousandths. So 6 becomes the numerator and our denominator is the column that it's in, which is thousandths. Let's have a look at the next one. So this time we've got 0.06. So again, what is the 6 worth in this question? It's worth 6 hundredths. So how do we write that as a fraction? Well, the 6 becomes the numerator and the hundredth becomes the denominator. And finally, we've got 0.6. So again, what is the 6 worth in this one? We've written it in our place value chart, and you can see that the 6 is in the tenths column. So the 6 becomes our numerator, and the 10 becomes our denominator. So we can say, if we look at our STEM sentence, that the decimal 0.6 is 6 tenths as a fraction because 6 becomes the numerator. The digit is in the, trying to write tenths here, tenths column. So the denominator is, yep, you're right, it's 10. Can 6 tenths be simplified? It can, can't it? I'll let you think about that one for a moment. So here it is again. It's showing you how this is represented. You've got your 6 thousandths here. So we can write that as 6,000. Here you've got your 6 in your hundredths column. So you can see that the hundredths becomes the denominator. Now, if I was to add a 0 into a thousands column, you can see now that I have 60 thousandths. So let's have a look at this last one. We've got 0.6, so the 6 is in the tenths column. So I can write that as 6/10. But if I add a 0 in the hundredths column, I always go to my last digit. So although my last digit is a 0, so it doesn't change the value, I can still write it as a fraction with 100 as the denominator. So 6/10 is equivalent to 60 hundredths. What if I add another 0 in there? I've now got a digit in the tenths column, in the hundredths column, and in the thousandths column. What is the number that I have written? I have just written 600. So 600 becomes my numerator. My last digit is in the thousandths column. So my thousand becomes my denominator. And again, have a go at filling in the stem sentence. So the next part of our question is simplify the fractions on the cards if possible. So we need to do a bit of revision. How do we simplify fractions? Well, we divide the numerator and the denominator by the same number to get two more whole numbers. So let's have a look at our first one. We have 60 hundredths. How are we going to simplify 60 hundredths? Well, the first thing I notice is that 60 and 100 can both be divided by 10. So if I divide 60 by 10, I'm going to be left with 6. If I divide 100 by 10, I'm going to be left with 10. So now I can say I've got 6/10. That is an equivalent fraction. It has the same value. What do you notice about the numerator and the denominator there, though? Do you notice that they're both still even? So I know I'm going to be able to divide the numerator by 2. So let's have a think. What's 6 divided by 2? Going to give me 3. What I do to the numerator, I do to the denominator. So I'm also going to divide that by 2. 10 divided by 2. Yeah, you're right. 5. So we can say that 60 hundredths is equivalent to 3/5. Can I simplify 3/5 any further? No, I can't. Both 3 and 5 are prime numbers, so there's no other numbers that will divide into them other than 1. And again, I can use my stem sentence there to help me. So now I can have a go at 6 thousandths. Can I divide this by 10? No. What is the biggest number I can divide that and that by? Oh, I'm not sure, but I know I can divide by 2. So let's go again. Let's try dividing by 2. So 6 divided by 2, that's going to give me 3. What I do to the numerator, I do to the denominator. So I'm also going to divide 1,000 by 2. What's 1,000 divided by 2? Well, 10 divided by 2 is 5. 0 divided by 2 is 0. and another 0 divided by 2 is 0. So my answer is going to be 3/500ths. Can I divide that by anything else? I wonder if I could divide it by 3. If you're not sure, why don't you try? So we could see if 3 would go into 500. So 3 into 5 goes once, remainder 2. 3 into 20. Let's think of our 3 times table. Well, 6 is 18, isn't it? Oh, remainder 2. So that's come up again. 3 into 20, I'm still going to end up with a remainder, aren't I? So can I divide 500 by 3? No, I can't. It's not possible. So I'm going to rub that out. Therefore, I know that I have simplified my fraction to its smallest point. So here we can see again how we can simplify these fractions. You can have a go at the other ones. Okay, question 1. Write each decimal as a fraction. The first one has been done for you. Right, the first thing that would be really handy is if we had a place value chart. Then we can think about putting our numbers in. So we've got 0, which is in the ones column, then our decimal point, and then we've got 2, 5. By writing it in the place value chart, we can see what column our last digit comes in. So in this case, 5 is our last digit, and 5 is in the hundredths column. So, first of all, our numerator is 25. What's our denominator going to be? Look again at our place value chart. What column is the last digit in? The last digit is in the hundredths column, so therefore our denominator becomes 100. Let's have a look at this next one. So the next one is 0.6. So again, write it in your place value chart, and you can draw one of these just like I've done. So 6 is our digit, so 6 becomes our numerator. What column is the 6 in? The 6 is in the tenths column. So what is the denominator? You're right, the denominator is going to be 10. And you do the same with 0.85 as well. Then if we go down onto the second one and have a look, again, 0.92 has been done for you. The 2 is in the hundredths column, so therefore the denominator is going to be 100. 0.95, what column is the 5 going to be in? What will the denominator be then? And then we've got 0.975. So you've got 3 digits. Write it in your place value chart. What column is the 5 in? Because that's your last digit. Whatever column that is going to be your denominator. Okay, question 2. Write each of these decimals as an improper fraction and as a mixed number. So what I would like, first of all, I think, is my place value chart. There we go. Now, 2.3. Well, I can put that in my place value chart there. How many holes have I got here? Well, I've got 2 wholes, haven't I? I've got 2 ones. So that's my whole number. So my decimal is my fraction. So I've got 3 in the tenths column. So just as we did before, 3 becomes my numerator and 10 becomes my denominator. But it also asked us for this number as an improper fraction. Well, we could work out how many lots of 10 are in my 2 wholes and then add on my 3. Let's do it that way, actually. So we've got 1 whole equals 10 tenths. So 2 wholes must be 20 tenths, plus my 3 gives me 23 tenths. But we don't really need to do that because look at the number in your place value chart. Remember what we were doing before? We take the digit that's in the last column, will tell us what our denominator is going to be. And then we take the whole number for our numerator. We just take out the decimal point. Because we are saying we have 23 tenths. Let's have a look at the next one. So we've got 2.53. So again, as a mixed number, you've got 2 wholes. What column is our last digit in? Our last digit is in our hundredths column. So what's our numerator going to be? It's going to be 100. How many hundredths? We've got 53 hundredths. Do not forget the 5. Yes, it doesn't just disappear. So you've got 53 hundredths. But what about as an improper fraction? Our last column is still the hundredths column. But we're incorporating that 2. So that's 2 is showing us that that is the same as 2 wholes. And in every whole, we have 100 hundredths. So there's 200 hundredths there, plus 53 hundredths. So 200 plus 53 will give us 253 hundredths. Now, on this one, the first thing you've got to decide is what this number line is going up in. We're going from 2.5 to 2.51. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's been split into 10 gaps, and we're going from 2.5 to 2.51. That's 1 more hundredth in there. Have a go at that one. Think about what it's going up in. Then you can work out what this arrow is here, the value of that, and then use your place value chart like we've done before. Okay, so we're now in the practice book. Number 1, write each decimal as a fraction. So in the magnifying glass, it can show you that there are 7 parts that are coloured in. But underneath it tells you that anyway, because that's quite tricky to see. And it's asking you what 0.007 is equivalent to as a fraction. Again, what I need here is a place value chart. I'm going to write my number in. 0.007. 7. What column is my last digit in? My last digit is in the thousands column. So therefore, our denominator is going to be 1,000. What number is going to be the numerator? Yep, it's going to be the 7. Do the same with B. B, you've got to work out again what our number line is going up in. We've got 10 segments going between 0.13 to 0.14. So it's going to be the next column, isn't it? So if that was 0.130, what would this one be? What would that one be? What would that one be? What are they going up in to get to there? C, your place value chart may help you again here. D is showing you a part-whole model. But again, it's the same thing. 0.51 is equivalent to what fraction? What column is our last digit in? What column is that 1 in? That will help you decide what your denominator will be. Question 2, convert these fractions to decimals and mark their position on the number line. So you've got 2 parts to this question. Obviously, make them into into decimals first, and then put them on the number line, which is from 0 to 1. A place value chart is probably going to be really handy again for this one. Let's do one of them together and then I'll leave the rest for you to do on your own. So let's have a look at 900 thousands. So I'm going to put my decimal points in because we know all of these numbers are less than 1. So 900 thousands. So the 0 of the 900s, I know has to go in my thousands column. So I'm going to put that in there. I can now write in my 900. So therefore, 900 thousands, I can see now, I can write that as 0.9. I don't have to put the other 2 zeros in, these two, the one in the hundredths and the one in the thousands, because they don't change the value of 0.9. I'll let you finish that one off. Question 3, match each decimal to an equivalent fraction. Now, just be a little bit careful with this one. Don't get caught out. Because I'm looking at this and thinking, oh, well, that's easy. That's 3/10. And then I'm looking at my fractions and thinking, oh, no, I don't have 3/10 as one of my options. So what could it be? Well, if I come back to my place value chart here, this might help us. So 3/10. Well, how many hundredths is 3/10? If I put there, maybe that helps me. I can also write it as 30 hundredths. Do I have a 30 hundredths? No, I don't. How else could I write it? What if I added another 0 in there? What's my fraction now? My fraction now is 300. Our denominator? Yep, denominator is 1,000. Now can I find which fraction it is? Yep, there it is. So I can link those two up. Number 4, write each decimal as a fraction, simplifying as much as you can. That's the key word here, simplify. So if your fraction was 4 hundredths, I know that 4 and 100 are both in the 2 times table. So that must be able to be simplified. Maybe it can be simplified again after that. So you want to make sure you are simplifying each of those. In question 5, which of these fractions is equivalent to 1.823? So again, use your place value chart, turn it into a fraction. What does it look like? B, which of these fractions is equivalent to 0.85? Circle your answer. So again, turn that into a fraction, and then you will probably need to simplify it to be able to work out the answer. If you need more practice, there are some more questions there. If you fancy a challenge, you've got 3 there to do. Then finish the lesson by completing your reflection. Explain how to write 0.555 as a fraction and how to simplify it as far as you can. Have fun today.